All right. Today is the day, folks. I am Isabel Filion from IFHAIR Pro. Welcome to In Between Hairstylists. I always remind everyone that In Between Hairstylists has been created to inform, teach, exchange ideas, educate, and promote. I've been blessed to have talked to some really amazing guests, both in French and in English. And tonight it's going to be another epic night. How often do we have the chance and the privilege to talk to the one and only master Canadian hairstylist, Chris Baran? And tonight, I am the lucky one. For those of you who don't know Chris, allow me to read a little bit about his biography. As global artistic director, Chris created Redken Vision for trend shoot styling and finishing techniques. He helped develop the core curriculum taught across the country and around the world in principle-based design, Redken education and fashion's hottest trends, as well as being a key facilitator for Redken Train the Trainer program, both internationally and domestically. Alongside his work as artistic director, exchange facilitator, and training coach, Chris divides his time between major trade show, hands-on workshop, and facilitation training. Coach Chris is also the founder of Trainer's Playbook, a company dedicated to creating easy to understand technical training system for associate training, turning stylists into six-figure earners and elevating the teaching skills of industry educator. Chris Baran accolades include being Canadian Hairdresser of the Year. There we go, people. This is coming. And Abby for the best educational program and the prestigious Master Styling title at the NAHA Award. Chris was recognized at the Canadian Hairdresser Awards as not only the International Stylist of the Year, but also with its Lifetime Achievement Awards. ABS Global Vision Awards bestowed him with Hair Cutter of the Year and the Leo Passage Gold Trophy. IBI awarded him Best Braided Hair and Best Haircut and Style. Twice named Avant-Garde Hairdresser of the Year and Educator of the Year in Canada and in the US, Chris is in worldwide demand. Coach Chris' career investment was thousands of hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars on training, as well as the anxiety that came along with the mistake and the screw-ups to get to the learning. His mission is to help others to be successful faster, so they have to go through all the pain, the time, and the money that he did. And now it's time to welcome our friend Chris. Let's welcome him.
Well, hello. Hello, Isabel.
I'm reading your biography. I'm getting goosebumps. Like, oh my goodness.
I need to get my people to make that a little shorter for you.
No. I mean, you're one of those guys that a lot of us have look up to. And you're still you're in the industry and we're still looking up to you. And it's important that we recognize our Canadian master hairstylist, because there's been a journey with what you've done, and it's very important that we talk about it
Mhm.
because nothing comes easy, and you've had a journey, I've had a journey, and I want to ask you, how does it feel to have accomplished so many things in the industry?
Well, first of all, thank you, and I really appreciate that intro. But good question, and I think the thing is when you talk about accomplishment, and how it feels to me that it's like even when you were reading them off, you know, it's a hard question to answer because how I feel is I'll admit this straight away.
Yeah.
I'm what I would call a perfectionistaholic,
Yes.
and I think that's not a good thing. When you get to be a perfectionist and you get an accomplishment, and I'm just speaking for myself. Unfortunately, what I do is I take a look at all the things that feel I should have done to make it better, as opposed to just sitting in the moment and enjoying it. So I'm always on to the next thing, and rather than just sitting back. And I think that the problem with that is that I think it affects you and your work, and it affects your sometimes your relationships. So I've had to really work at not trying to be a perfectionist. One of my coaches and like you and others, I really believe that you've got to have a coach and have a mentor. I still, to this day, I pay a business coach. I have coaches that I have from around the world that help me, and weekly sessions that I do that are how to get out of my perfectionist way.
Mm.
And so I'm saying this because anybody listening to this and the people in your audience, if you can just understand, and this is the one thing that really hit me and made me really work on not being a perfectionist, was when my teacher told me, those of you who are a perfectionist are doomed to a life of frustration. And that's what I found I was going through before, is just I was constantly frustrated because I could never get it to what I thought was perfect. And as we all know, there's no such thing as perfect. Even in, you love sports or not, it's in sports and golf. You'd think that if there's an 18-hole course, that if you've got an 18-hole course and then a perfect score would be 18, but nobody's ever done it. The lowest score that ever has been recorded, to the best of my knowledge, is 55, and that's a far sight off of 18. So, that's the biggest thing that I've been working on, Isabel, is what can I do? What do I need to do in order to get part of the way there? We have a saying within our company, and and it's called 80 and done. Get it to 80%, and then
Oh,
move forward, and you can be tweaking little bits as you go along, because otherwise, if you're waiting for it to be perfect, it's never going to get done.
I know. I get what you're saying because for me, this is one thing about when I'm doing haircut, I'll finish, everything looks beautiful. But as soon as the client stands up, from the moment she stands up, pay, walks out to her car, I'm still following her
Yeah.
with eyes, and I'm still looking at the hair, the way the hair is moving, the way it falls, and that's so bad. Like I'm just like, let it go, Isabel. Like,
Yeah, well, I love it because we would always call it the receptionist chase,
yeah,
because you view your client then into the in the mirror, and then she'd stand up walking away, and then you're constantly running after them up to the reception desk.
yeah.
And it's not a bad thing,
No,
especially
no,
if
no.
you see something wrong. However, it's one of those things that I think that to remember that she's in there for as much how you make them feel, as opposed to just the haircut or just the color or just the finish.
That's a good point. That's a good point for our listener. And you facilitated classes and mentor hairstylists around the world, basically. Talk to us about how did you first started in the industry, and where are you at now? Like what kind of lead you into where you at now?
Well, yeah. First of all, great question, and I like, you know what? I guess I'm hoping that the people that have know me and they will have heard this. So I'm giving you a spoiler alert that you're going to be hearing the same thing that I probably told, and the reason why I tell it is because it's true. But I didn't actually really want to become a hairdresser at the very beginning. And like so many people say, you know, I knew from day one that I was going to be a hairdresser. I knew what I wanted, and I was going to be a hairdresser. I was part of the latter group. I mean, even in school, you know, I was the half of the class that made the top half possible. You know, because when I went to hairdressing school, I went there because my mom had a salon. I knew I could, I'd get a job, have a good job, reasonable pay for at that time, and I couldn't get fired. So I was, you know, to me, when I first started off, I was going to be a mechanic because I loved cars. And my mom sat me down and said, "No, you're going to get, you got to, you're going to do." I said I was going to take the summer off after grade 12, and I said, I'm going to take the summer off so I can get." She says, "Nope, you're going to school. Pick something." I went, "Well, okay, I'll do hair." So she got me in literally about a week later, and I have to say that at the beginning of my career, I was the kind of hairdresser that, well, if you would have been an employer, you wouldn't have wanted me working for you,
Why is
because
that?
oh no, I've always had a creative side, so I always liked things like cutting and so on, but I was not. To me, I was more interested in partying my brains out in the evening, and I'd come into work late and probably a little bit hungover. And like I was saying, I wasn't the epitome, and I wasn't the poster child for the new stylist you wanted. And then I had a life changing experience, um, where it was a wake up call that was delivered to me almost like hitting me between the eyes with a 2x4. Excuse me. And I had a client that came in and sat in my chair, was one of the few regular clients that I had. And this is when we were at my mom's salon, New Fashion Beauty Shoppy, in two P's and two E's, very continental, I might add. And she sat in my chair and said, "Chris, don't cut my hair today." And I said, probably the silliest thing. I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because I'm going to Montreal to get a good haircut." And that's where that woman, I hated her. I was embarrassed. I was frustrated. I was upset, mad at myself. But she changed my life. You know, that's where I had to go back and say, well, okay, should I just quit and get out? Or do I have to find out what this Montreal haircut was? And that was the fire that kept me going all the way through my career, is that woman's response.
Mm.
And so that spurred me on. So I love that woman now, but and my wife is listening in. So honey, no, I'm not that way. But I really, really appreciate that woman for what she said, because I don't think she really meant anything by it. Her intention was not anything to hurt me, but that was just the wake up call that I needed.
Yeah, just sometimes there's people that will delivered message, I call.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to be open to listen to it, and probably that day you were, and so this it happened,
Oh
right?
yeah, mentally I was pulling the scissors out of the back of her head. Uh,
Right.
mentally, no, but that motivated me, and then from there I just got, to me it was finding out what this was. So the first thing I did is, um, that's when Sassoons just came to America. So I went to every Sassoon class that I could, and I became a Sassoon junkie.
Yeah.
And then just and as most everything in my life, I've just sort of just happened, and it was never on purpose. It just sort of happened that way. And then I just remember being in Saskatoon at it was the S.E. Gould and Company show,
Yes.
and I remember sitting in the audience, and Kent Gould,
Yeah.
another fine man, and also who, he was a good mentor to me as well. But I remember sitting in the audience, and he said, I had just come back from Sassoon's, one of the programs, and I went. he said, you know what? We've only got 2 people entered in the haircutting competition for tomorrow. So I went, well, I'll take third. I can get it. If I'll take third. That's okay. So I showed up with my model. I went home that night and did some color on her hair, brought her in. My model, Annabelle, I still remember her name. And Annabelle was my model. And we went into the competition. I figured there was going to be 3 people, but apparently about 30 some other people wanted to take third as well. And so we went into it. So I went in sort of going, oh, well, that's that. And I was lucky, and I got second. Elmer Olson, who was one of the champs at that time, he was first, and that's where I got to meet him. And that's where I got hooked on education, bettering myself, and then testing myself, pushing myself a bit further.
Yeah, and probably competition as well, right? Because
Yeah,
then,
well, that was everything. Then was for me about competition, hair photography, and later in the latter part. But competition work, I think, really tests your mettle, and it makes you grow up real quick, and it makes you follow some rules. It makes you practice, and the practice pays off. People say, well, what about, how does that help you? Well, it makes it better for your clients.
yeah,
When you get your, it's just like when you see this last while, I don't know if you follow anything that's happening in the U.S. insofar as basketball, but there was Steph Curry was making all these wild shots, and
yeah,
when he was playing for the basketball, and they asked him about it after, and he just said, look at, because he was making them from way outside of the 3-point line and just shooting stuff time and time again, getting 30, 40 points a game. And he said, it's just making the shot all the time so that you practice harder in your practice than you do in the competition. So the competition then is just a breeze.
oh, that's a good tip for competitors, because
Mm.
I talk to a lot of competitors, and yes, this is an excellent tip to give. Oh my goodness, enlightening moment right now. So you've seen so much like in the industry, um, especially like in the 80s and 90s, the industry just boomed. And then, products, tons of products and came, and it's been really a good ride. So tell us so far, what's been the key to your success yourself as a hairstylist or an educator as well? Like,
Yeah, well, I'll just, here's just my motto, and I think pretty much sums it up. I'll give you a little more, but and I just believe if you want to get to the top, you have to fail your way to the top. There's no such thing as an easy ride. There's no boat ride that's taking you there. There's not a
no,
easy way, but it's just it's. I remember reading this book, and this kind of sets it up. Um, is there was a I remember I used to read a lot of sales books when I was first starting off and understanding retail business and as a business owner, et cetera. And there was a book out by a gentleman by the name of Hank Trissler, and he wrote this book called No Bull Selling. And he was the guy that would be the cleanup guy when some sales organization's team wasn't performing. He was the sales guy that would bring in and turn the company around. And he would make all these people, like, let's say he was going in for a car company or an encyclopedia company. And so he would gather the team up, and he would take them into the sales office, and he would give everybody a chair, and he would give them this script, and that they had to sell cemetery plots. And they had to go through the cold calling to try to sell them a cemetery plot, even though they couldn't sell. Even if somebody said yes, they couldn't do it.
yeah,
And his sole purpose was, you've got to get used to to hearing no. And so once after they did this about 40, 50 times, and it was just no, 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 all of a sudden the word no wasn't a factor with them anymore. So I say that is I'm not trying to tell everybody you got to go out and do that or be so conscious of sales that you're always looking forward to no, but failing your way to the top is you just get used to and comfortable, more comfortable with having a failure, having a something that doesn't work. And then you just go, okay, well, that didn't work. What can I'll try something different. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of what was me is nothing ever worked the first time. So you just had to keep trying until something. I'm working on a collection right now for Naha. And I started off with one thing because I had these pieces built and I wanted to build a base. So I made these textures, started spraying and just to cover the base. And I went, wow, what would happen if I kept going with it? And so my point is I created something totally different out of what would have been a mistake before. So
Right. Unfortunately, I think people though sometimes will give up
yeah,
halfway,
that's the point. Yeah.
right? Halfway through, they just don't persevere, and so then they just give up.
Yeah. You
And
know what I say to those people? Okay, what would have happened if you would have given up when you were trying to walk? What would happen if you give up when you were trying to learn how to ride your bike?
yeah,
What would happen when you were taking your driver's ed course and just because you didn't put your signal on right, that you say, well, I'm never going to drive a car again? What would
hmm
happen if you if a partner, your wife, your spouse, your partner, somebody that you had at one time said no, would you never ask again? People would go without everything if you can't get used to something going wrong. So to me, the biggest blessing that I've had in my life, and they always haven't felt good at the time, but was when you make a mistake or you fail at something, it oftentimes leads you to something else that you became far greater at, uh, far more experienced at, got a better experience out of it than if you would have quit.
yeah, I agree. Oh, that's so good. So, like I was saying before, times have changed
Mm-hmm.
in the 2020. And what kind of adjustment have you had to do professionally to connect with the new generation of hairstylists?
Oh, good point. You know, particularly because right now I mean, we just in the last while we've launched this Salon Associate Accelerator program to help the new generation, or people just getting out of school, adapt and get them up to a minimum salon standard. Now, I say that as the precursor to this, but right now I think that everybody's talking about this new generation and they're getting all sorts of flack for, that it's been 12 years. They're going to go through 12 professions before they choose something that they do in their lifetime, or they keep moving on. They're looking for, I hear this all the time. They're looking for instant gratification. They're not willing to work through things. And it's interesting that when you talk about our industry, and I mean, I'm sure it happens in all of them, but our industry, because it's what we're in, trends, they say, last for like 6 years, 2 years in, 2 years hot, 2 years out. But you also have, so it's not just trend that changes. You have like a cyclical change within our industry every 20 years. And if you look at where we're at now, is we've had this industry. I'm going to say something right now. It's a little bit controversial right now, but I think that's okay. Sometimes we just have to start a conversation about stuff.
That's right.
But right now, I think that the hair industry has to make a change because we've spent the last 20 years making root extensions. So
Yeah.
we've created roots so the client doesn't have to come in every 6 weeks. We started with balayage. Now, all you balayage people that are out there right now, don't get your knickers in a twist because balayage will always be around.
Yeah, always.
But the problem is it's happened is we have people getting out of school that are terrified of cutting hair, terrified of cutting short hair. They've been indoctrinated to do hair color that doesn't have to be done every 6 weeks, so the client doesn't have to come in. Then, and because they're doing this masterfully work on long hair or techniques that require length, they've got their clients to grow out, so they're not coming back in for regular trims. And the industry is wondering, why is it that the client isn't coming in on a regular basis anymore? And to speak to the industry of where we're at, where we have an industry where the stylists are getting out of school, or they're just saying, look, I'm going to do long hair, and I'm going to do balayage work. That's going to be my specialties. And great, that should be out there.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, we're losing that that vibe of really cool, having a cool haircut that you see walking down the street. I was just 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, I was at the premiere show in Orlando. And I was walking to do, we had to do a panel discussion. And I was walking with a friend as we were walking down the hallway. And I said, tell me, of this 20,000 people that were there supposedly, when we're walking down the corridor, point out when you see a really cool haircut and color. That not something that not just everybody is wearing, or it's not just long hair and curled up with a tong, but it's a cool architectural haircut that you would say is something that was really new and fashion forward. And we couldn't find one.
Because everybody wears the same thing.
Everybody's wearing the same style,
Right. It's so interesting. I absolutely agree with you. I come from the school where when you go to work in the morning, you dress up. When you go to work, your hair is done and you look professional and you look the best that you can be. This is, it's always been that way. And I've had clients saying to me, wow, you look so nice. You're all dressed up. Are you going anywhere? No, I'm a professional. This is how I am. I come to work and I'm prepared and I look my best, because how can client trust me and allow me to do whatever if I'm not able to portray or show myself off? It starts with yourself, right? That's so interesting what you just said. And I totally agree that kids are coming out of hair school not well prepared to be facing, let's say, all the tasks that they need to do in hair. I happen to, in my past, have taught in an academy, and the kids were so scared to do perms.
Oh, yeah.
And I've worked with girls that just like, how do I do this? Well, come on, like this is no brainer here. It's a perm.
Wouldn't you agree, though, that you see, unfortunately, society is based on you performing well. So if you perform well, then society places you at a higher position. If you make a lot of mistakes, then society positions you lower. And so people's fear of making mistake is greater than the risk that they're willing to take to get better at something. So we've developed a society that is so afraid of making a mistake, they just don't make mistakes, and then you don't learn anything, you don't try anything new, etc. So, and it just continues on. So, I think that the cure is that if you can have people around you in your salon, in your life, etc., that will support you and mentor and coach you so that making a mistake is safe. Okay. Well, I think that there's certain things like driving with your eyes closed. I would definitely put a kibosh on that. There's things that you can do and mistakes that you can make that still are safe, it might have a, we know it's got a consequence that's going to happen to it, but it's got to be something that you can learn from and grow on. Like, and when we teach, we say, my job, and I tell everybody when I'm training them, particularly on facilitation or whatever, I say, look, at my job is to catch you in your inherent behavior. Meaning, I can only tell what I can help you with when I see you doing something that might not be correct.
Yeah.
So if I can see that, great, let's celebrate that. And now let's move on and learn how to correct that. And then you celebrate as you move along. Every little thing that you get, you celebrate. So even when mistakes are learning, so if you learn something, great, celebrate that, and then learn how to correct it. That way, you're getting people more comfortable with making mistakes or entering that. I always hear people talk about you got to step outside of your box. Well, you can still keep one foot in. Go out and test yourself in some areas that you're uncomfortable in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what it's about, is just you fail your way to the top, but you also you've got to take risks, and they have to have people around you that are willing to help you and not beat you up and tear you down when you make a mistake.
Yeah. And you pick you up and support you.
Yeah.
And have communication. So they tell you, explain to you like what went wrong and how you can, look at things differently. Right.
Bingo.
Yeah. Like communication is so important in our industry. And I think maybe it's part of the problem that now the new generation do not know how to verbally communicate. They know how to talk really good with their fingers.
Yeah.
But
just use that to your advantage as well.
Right.
I mean, if you're good with that, then, get onto your social, post out there, or do all of those things. It's like I was saying I don't know, earlier when we were talking about the new generation,
Yeah.
We should be the ones that change. If you get people that come and want to work for you, but they'll say, listen, I don't want to work. I don't want to work a 5-day week. Okay, great. Well, then, like I was just talking with my good friend Eric Fisher this morning. We're doing a podcast with him, and we were talking about, he opens his salon from 7 a.m. I believe it's 7 a.m. till 11 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. And so he just split shifts everybody. So if you got somebody that only wants to work 3 days a week, great, let them work 3 days a week.
Yes.
If you want to, but here's what I would do is I would say, people come in and they'll say, well, I don't want to work. I don't want to work on Saturday. Okay, well then great. You don't have to work on Saturday.
Yes.
But by the way, we have premium pricing. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday prices are lower than they are on Friday and Saturday. So Friday and Saturday, they're what you can be, whatever, 30, 40, 50% more on those days that get booked up. Same way that airlines do it, the same way that's happening in the rest of the industries. There's different prices for different days.
Yes.
So because those are the days that everybody wants. So it's supply and demand. All of a sudden, the same person that, if you don't want to work on Saturday and you want to miss out on earning more money, then great. And if you say, I'm fine with that, great. So I think that we need to change to accommodate this new wave of generation, this new learner, this new hairdresser that's coming on board.
I totally agree with you, 100%. I think part of the problem is us who's been in the industry for a very long time, and we know we were there in years where things were very flourishing. The beauty industry was prosper, and so now that things have changed, and it's hard to be salon owners, yes, but you have to step out of the box and you have to look at things differently. And I totally agree with you. Ask your staff, when are you at your best? When do are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? And then adjust your schedule that way. And I'm glad the gentleman you're talking about, he's done that. This is awesome.
I think it's just it's something that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, for the business owners that are out there, and for educators that are out there, et cetera, we have to look differently at what we're doing right now. Everybody always tells me, and this is what they say, it's not what I say. Excuse me. They say, Krista, we love what you do because you're always evolving. You always evolve your business and evolve where you go. I don't know if that's it. I guess it is. I am evolving, but I just get bored with something and I want to try something new. And I think that if you have people that are coming into your business, and we can't expect them to want to work, learn, and doing in the same excuse me, in the same manner that we did in the good old days. You know, like we came from the era of apprenticeships, and you would apprentice at a salon for 6, 8 months a year, and then you to earn your right onto go onto the floor. You can't do that anymore. Nobody wants to work like that. Nobody wants to be working at a minimum wage. You know, like right now, I'm hearing from so many owners that I'm having trouble getting staff.
Yeah.
Why are you having trouble getting a staff? Well, because McDonald's and everybody else is paying $20 an hour right now. Well, then pay your staff more.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. I mean, it's, and if somebody's not pulling their weight, then if they're not earning more than $20 an hour, then, and you're losing money, then they either need, you have one of two things to do. You've got to train them and mentor them so they get better. Help them with, 101 so that you're mentoring them and coaching them. They got goals to hit. And then, and if they're not doing that, then you have to, find them some other place that they're going to be happy. It's as simple as that.
I'm going to give you a little insight here. I have a daughter. She's 20 years old. I was having a conversation with her the other day about her generation. She said, but Mom, with my generation, you guys complain about my generation. And I said, yeah, I guess we do. That's right. And she said, but the thing is that we realize, especially now with COVID, that we want quality of life over, other things. And I said, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Living to work as opposed to working to live.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're the generation that we're like, work. That's how you're going to become successful. Well, yeah.
How many times do we talk to hairdressers and it becomes a competition about I work more hours. I did look at how long I worked. I did 7 days a week. I worked all that. And then I worked, and then I went and did a show, and then I did, and I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, me too.
That's the era we grow up in, but they don't want that anymore.
No.
So we've got to find a way to change, and then we have to sort of pull back. If we want to work like that, great, we can work like that, but you can't expect them to. So how are you going to shift what you're doing? How are you going to shift your business operation to accommodate those people and make them better, give them an opportunity to advance so they want to stay?
Yeah. Good point. That's totally what I'm thinking, that salon owners that are listening out there, you really need to just, talk to them, communicate, and find out like what goal do they have, what they want to do, what's their ambition, and then adjust yourself, and then teach and lead them towards what they want. And you may be surprised, they'll stay with you a little bit longer than
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Obviously, as a coach, I really like to delve into not the psychology behind it, but understand when you find what people's needs are, et cetera. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs goes through a whole bunch of, there are 6 stages that have been many times broken down and into other areas as well. But with self-actualization at the top and physiological needs at the bottom, food, air, water, things to breathe with, safety. And then we forget that when you have somebody that's joining your organization or in your organization, they want to have advancement. They want recognition. They want to be a part of the team. And so if we have to look at that middle part when we're developing people, is that you've got to look at what is your wants. Do you realize that in an adolescent, do you remember when you're an adolescent and when kids go through um, those adolescent years, do you know how many times they hear the word no in one day?
Like at
I hear
least,
it, if I remember correctly, it's about 265 times they hear the word no.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Think of the power that would happen if somebody just said, "Good job.
Yeah.
Look at, I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Wow, what you did was amazing. Hey, everybody, come over here. Look at this haircut. Look at the
Yeah.
haircut that Isabel did." The power that that has
Yeah.
in fitting into those are needs that people have. It's not just money.
Yeah.
Money is a maintenance factor. I mean, I must admit, I really like money.
Yeah. We like money.
I like having the things I like to have and being able to go the places I like to go. But the reality is, money is a maintenance factor. Motivational factors are the ones, or simple things like a thank you, advancement. Being able to say, Isabel, you know what? Your work is amazing. I want you to become our education director. And here's what the advancement is going to be like. And eventually, I think that if you're willing, I'm going to be starting up some profit sharing, and I'm thinking of succession plans down the way. If you're interested in becoming a shareholder, I'd love to have that conversation with you, and we can have a talk about how you can buy shares.
Yeah. There you
So
go. Yeah.
people have to be thinking about what are you doing for the people that are working for you so that they can advance. Like, I know mistakes that I've made way along the way. When we had successful salons, I kept thinking, I have one salon really successful. And if I had somebody that I could see was getting ready to go, what I should have done is the things that I know now. I
Yeah.
would have said, hey, I know you're thinking about starting a business together. We've got the systems in place. Everything is built. Let's build another salon together. You and I are owners in that one. And then that's the way that you can start to build up, a chain, a system of businesses around you so that you're making money while you sleep. And I think that if people knew they could advance and they see that opportunity in your organization, you mean that I can eventually have my own salon by working here, and
Yeah.
I'll get myself trained up, and then I go in partnership and I have all the systems and the business systems are all set up for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gets harder to leave.
I'm so glad you're saying that because I've been thinking about that. And I had a conversation with my husband specifically on this topic.
Yeah,
And that's what he's in sales. Well, used to be in sales. And that's what his recommendation
yeah,
was, that salon owners should start, if they have employees that thinks that potentially or want to keep their employees,
yeah,
then they need to take some step like that.
yeah.
And it's so
You have to do it, but you said one thing that I think was really interesting there. You said that my husband's in sales. And I remember one of the first times that I took some training from one of my coaches, Blair Singer, and he said that he put it this way: life is sales. If you think about it, the people that are the people that are uh, your kids, who always wins when they want something. It's your kids because they have the most energy at it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, but life is sales. If you're married, there was some sales going on. If you have a partner, there was some sales going on.
yeah,
So, I think it's really important that while sales is certainly also a profession or a category of things that we would do to work, but life is sales. And I think if people can remember it that way, and remember that sales equals income, and people think income dollars, but sales is also your love, your relationships, your spiritual and mental energy that you have. It's all based around sales because that's part of what's incoming to you.
yeah.
So, you
I
know,
want to ask you a question. This came to me a while back, obviously from someone that's been in the industry for a while. She was asking, but what is the best way to promote yourself these days? Because it used to be that it was on the radio and on TV.
TV and handing out business cards, etc.
Yeah, we all know that the best way to promote yourself is having referral from other client. That's number one method. But now these days, people have to change their way of doing things.
Yeah.
What is your recommendation to a stylist
Well,
that want to?
it's actually interesting because I tended to be a little old school in that. But somebody said something to me the other day that really stuck home. Is we're always talking about referrals, and it is still one of the best ways, word of mouth. But our clients are seeking us out. If you've had a client that has not been into your salon for 6 months or a year and you feel they're gone, it's because if they're researching,
Mm-hmm.
and if they're researching that I want a balayage that looks in blonde balayage, and I want money pieces in the front. They're researching blonde balayage with money pieces in the front, and whoever is coming up socially that is doing it the best,
Yeah,
they're going to book in with them.
I agree.
It's you have to be, there has to be so much more than the old way of just, there's my client. She's coming in every week or every 6 weeks, and I'm doing this. She's got to have constant value. I'll give you a little, this one, this was something that thought was so brilliant. And it was from the Chapel Salon out of the UK. And we always talk about consultations, and you have your primary consultation when the client comes in.
Yeah.
They have a 1-hour consultation every 6 months. They still do every appointment. There's a consultation, but it's 3 to 5 minutes. Twice a year, they have an hour-long consultation to plan out the next 6 months of their work, of the evolution of the client's hair. Springtime. You know what? We've hit spring now, and if you notice, everything is cooler right now. So I think we need to think about cooling down your color. There's also right now there's money pieces that are happening in the front. Is that right now? I think we need to get this out a little further, but I think in 6 weeks or 2 months, I think we need to be planning on that money piece to put in while we're getting your hair in better health. So I want to plan right now what we need to plan for your hair care so that you're ready for when we're doing this decolorization on the front piece at the front. And they plan it all out, and they book, now catch this, they book the next 6 months appointments. And they say, listen, we're booked all the time. I want you, here's the times that I want you in. Now, I do keep some free time, so don't feel that if you book this time and you get another appointment, I can shift you somewhere else. But it's critical that you come in every 6 weeks so we can in your appointments between this next 6 months so we can maintain. Fall hits, you know what? Everything's got warmer. So we need to plan on warming up your color a little bit. That money piece that was in front, now it's more just balayages on the mid shafts and ends of the hair. So we need to get your hair in better nick on the ends. So I'm going to recommend these different products in order to get your hair back into shape. I'd suggest the next 2 times that we have these treatments that we're going to put on your hair. And then when you come back in now in 2 months, you'll move from there. And then this is how we're going to move for the next 6 months. And that goes on all the time. Now, here's the kicker is, Chris's client goes up to Isabel's client and says, hey, listen, Chris is a really good cutter. You should probably go to him. Sorry, I can't. Isabel has got my next 6 months planned out for my hair, and there's no way I'm willing to risk that. So I'm going to stay with Isabel.
It's hard to compete with that.
Yeah. You see it? So I just thought that was just one of the most brilliant pieces that I had ever heard of. And we only knew that when we were starting off. So all of the young kids that are out there, all of the people that are just starting out right now, business owners, and you want to think about shifts, there's one you should start with.
Yeah, because they're creating a vision with the client and
Yeah.
then they're making, the plan.
Yeah.
And then how,
Bingo.
like, how can a client go somewhere else?
Yeah.
Because you're,
Bingo. I just realized I said bingo twice, so I don't know if that means that I'm going to an old folks home right away. My bingo's on Wednesday night.
oh my goodness, Chris, we've been talking for 50 minutes. Can you believe it?
Wow.
This is like way more than I usually do. But
Well,
we are,
I've often been introduced. They say, "Well, here's Chris Baran. Chris Baran, the gentleman that can say in 10 words what other people can say in one." So
oh, but I've been blessed tonight. That is for sure. Thank you for being with us. That's for sure. And my hope is that we cross path again soon.
I hope so too.
I hope
I
so.
hope so too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And for the audience, please share this interview with Chris Barron, because you never know. It may help somebody else. And
Bingo.
that's really important information that needs to be passed on. And so, and don't forget to like as well. So, for that, it's been a blast. Thank you so much. And I will say, like I usually do, bye for now.